stressed out at home and maybe even crying. Well, we're all in the same situation, whether it's here in Thailand, or across Europe, US, other parts of Asia, Africa. This is unique, and it highlights more than ever the need to have your own routine. So if you are in a relatively small space with other people that you call family, who are supposed to be loved ones and ones you want to be with, then it's knowing how to give them space and how to take space for yourself. So taking the routine of personal time, how to manage direct children because they're stuck at home and doing their schoolwork, which they don't want to do. So that is quite challenging, but at least getting them into their own zone, their own time, their own place to get on with it. And then scheduling whatever personal activity to go on with. And if there's no direct work, at least there's opportunities for learning via the online aspect in many different categories. But without the routine and without a checking of one's senses and desires and frustrations, the outcome is going to be total breakdown, frustration, and possibly tears. So fortunately for the majority of places, you can go out and at least take a walk, probably on your own, with enough distance. And that is a very positive thing. You don't need to bust out a full-on crazy workout, but that might be also what satisfies you, getting out on a bike, getting out for a walk. Here, Thailand, the last 2 weeks have been full-on work to manage things, but beyond that, it's for me to get up, practice, get on the academic writing routine, come here to check on things, and I'll put in one, along with practice in the morning, I'll put in one walk, whether that's morning, lunch, or later. Without those things, you have space, ground for frustrations to grow. It's not that you need to get totally regimented, but to develop a routine that's personal for you. And as I say many times, you've learnt many practices, especially anybody who's been here before, and though you can pick up all these things or follow classes online, you'll still come out of this not really having shifted or grown. So how can you take ownership of your practice now and use that as a little project? Because when you're, those of you that understand the terms, when the buddhi, when your intellect as such is engaged, it's a sattvic outcome, so it's a positive, pure experience. When your intellect is engaged, meaning just your attention, mind on something you're working on to figure out, as in, how do I do this? How do I sit and figure out what breath to do, etc. See? So you engage in that, you totally divert mental functions, mental processes away from rumination, away from negative affect, which is basically, negative behavior, and you can spiral in a different direction out of this. So really, more than ever, it's in our own hands, each one of us. There's no other way to fully solve this. And if you're a parent at home with a partner, with kids, there's more in your own hands than others. Some are maybe medical professionals working on the front lines, and it's long hours. So to be able to take short personal breaks with breath, etc. So stress resilience in a nutshell is how you can manage your time, how you can use your intelligence to engage in the actual finally learning of some of these practices. There's the effect of those practices themselves, but your engagement is crucial. That's a big thing that's coming out of the research I've done. And of course, that will affect mental attitude. If you can really start with the mental attitude first, great. But if not, at least direct yourself into some of these other activities within your confined space. On another note, Many will say, I mean, you hear many sort of comments today that, oh, this is a rebirth, you know, it's a reset, etc. And perhaps it is. Perhaps it is the great connector instead of the great disruptor, all those things, right? However, we're saying that because obviously it's affecting this big group of people, which we call human beings as a community, 7 billion plus. And we've always been a connected community with some infighting going on for the last 50 to 100,000 years. But here we are across the planet in large numbers, experiencing the same thing, and because we are connected digitally online here, electronically, we've sort of got the same medium of information. So that's why it seems more dramatic, and it seems like, yeah, it's a reset, etc. However, on an individual level, you do not need such a global intervention to engage in the things that we're advising now. All this attention to practices, even personal isolation, handling of the inner system, reframing the mental attitude, it was a path of practice I went through 20 plus years ago when leaving New York and coming over here, and it was different to everybody else, but it still was a similar route, similar path of practice. And now, 20 plus years later, it's like, well, everybody, this would be a good suggestion. I can definitely say, having taken those steps and internalized them, that the effect on the system is massive, you know, and it shows in the effect of this current crisis. And I'm personally obviously closed, without an income, and carrying 70 other people and their incomes. So it's not just like no work, it's how to guarantee it for others. Yet inside the system feels very clear, resilient, robust. I feel positive. There's a level of understanding, and at the same time, the capacity and ability to take precautions to handle this level of responsibilities. So if this global situation causes you to internalize and get on practice, and ideally keep that beyond this time period, then wonderful. But one thing's for sure, it might be a global reset. We'll see what happens to the greater community after. But on an individual level, any time is possible for that. And I recommend that now if it's there. And the key is to keep this thread of upgraded understanding, upgraded practice, upgraded personal routine beyond just this so-called crisis time.